Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Supreme Court stopped CBN from implementing February 10 deadline for old Naira notes. INEC chairman briefs FEC, says 2023 general elections will hold as scheduled. Joe Ajaero takes over from Ayuba Waba as NLC president. And on the foreign scene, death toll from Syria-Turkey quake passes 11,000 as President Erdogan visits affected areas. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. The news in detail. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has restrained the federal government from implementing the February 10 deadline of the old 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes to stop being legal tender. Three northern states, Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara, had in a motion ex parte filed on February 3rd, prayed the Apex Court to halt the Central Bank of Nigeria's Naira redesign policy. The seven-man panel of the Supreme Court, led by Justice John Okoro, in a unanimous ruling, granted an interim injunction restraining the federal government, CBN, and commercial banks from implementing the February 10 deadline for the old notes. The court further held that the federal government, CBN, commercial banks must not continue with the deadline pending the determination of a notice in respect of the issue on February 15. The old Naira notes continue to be legal tender in Nigeria pending final determination of the suit.
We invoked the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court when there's a dispute between the state government and federal government. It's one of the few occasions where Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction. So we invoked the powers of this Supreme Court to hear this application. The reason for it is that as well-intentioned as this policy of federal government of design is working hardship all over the country, as we can all see, banks are being harassed, Nigerians are suffering, especially the downtrodden. Those in the urban areas, they're having problems, but it's more excruciating at the rural area. So these three state governments, Kaduna, Zamfara, and Kogi, deem it fit for us to invoke the powers of Supreme Court to intervene. And the Supreme Court are not just the final court, but a court of policy.
The other is an expertise, and because of the urgency and the affidavit of urgency filed by the applicants, the court in its wisdom decided that something must be done because of the urgency. But the court has rightly, in its own wisdom, directed that all processes move there by 15th, that is Wednesday next week, for us to argue our various positions.
Dr. Nasiru Aminu, senior lecturer at Cardiff Metropolitan University, joins us to share his perspective on what the CBN should do to stabilize the financial system.
What are we seeing is we are seeing cash crunch, and it is continuing, it is happening, it is squeezing the economy, which is not very good. I live in Cardiff City, but I feel the pain because I'm deeply connected with people back in Nigeria. So I can't imagine the pain people are going through. We've seen videos and what have not. People can't, buying is limited, selling is limited, eating is limited, movement is limited, and what have not. What can they do to ease it? First of all, we need to know they haven't conducted any research about it. If you go to the CBN website, before the implementation, there's no any research report on the users and those who are going to help them implement it. I'm talking about the commercial banks. They don't know about it. Some of us are just learning that there are only 4 banks out of 14 local governments in Zamfara, about 6 banks out of 28 in Sokoto, 4 banks out of 17 local governments in Yobe. And I'm not saying there are so many banks in these local governments. Like in Shinkafi, you have only 1 bank in one local government. I think it's First Bank or something like that. So people are squeezed so much, and Central Bank does not have the full data about it. The CBN governor came out and told us that they have taken back 1.9 trillion naira out of the 2.7 trillion naira that is out of the hands of the public. That was on January 30th. Now that the Supreme Court has told them, or I think the Supreme Court only spoke to, put an ex parte order on the federal government, that is between the state government and the federal government. It did not involve the central bank, from what I read on the news, in the news. But if that were to happen, it means that they need to take back that 1.9 trillion naira back to the people for economic transactions to continue to happen, to ensure people can buy, can sell, can move, can eat. How can they do that? We don't know how much they have given to these banks and how much these banks or which bank collected what and how much they are going to take it back. Do they have that record? Then if they do have that record, it took them about 3 months to mop up that 1.9 trillion naira. From given the logistics, and movement, it will take longer for them to give back people that amount of money to ease this pain.
Meanwhile, point-of-sale operators in Abuja have expressed mixed reactions to the Supreme Court ruling suspending the February 10 deadline date for old Naira notes. Noel Sampson speaks to some of them.
Most operators are taking advantage of the Naira scarcity to increase their charges as people struggle to get money before expiration of deadline for the old Naira. But the Supreme Court ruling on Wednesday restraining the CBN and commercial banks on the old Naira deadline has changed all that.
I'm in support of it, so that the new Naira note will go around, so that everybody will have it. Then the situation, how things, people are angry and everything will now calm down. So I'm in support of extending the time.
Some of the POS operators are not happy with the court ruling, saying the February 10th deadline should not be shifted.
In my own idea, it's not a good idea because it is supposed to have a definite date. With that, Nigerians can plan towards that date. Now that they have shifted it indefinitely, now it makes Nigeria to go through more suffering. Because that old Naira, we have hope that in the next few days now, old Naira will go off. Now we'll be using the new one. That if you go to the bank, at least you can get new one. Now, if you go to the bank, you cannot get old one. New one is not there. So now cancelling it is not good for us. It's not good for the whole Nigerians.
So I think they shouldn't cancel that deadline they give. Like me, even in the first place, because why people are holding the new currency is because of the fact that the old currency is still in the market. If the old currency is not in the market, I think the new currency should be in circulation.
The old Naira will now remain legal tender pending final determination of the suit before the Supreme Court. It may take some time, but it's a huge relief for many. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Wednesday's Supreme Court order that temporarily stopped the execution of the CBN's February 10 deadline to end the validity of the old versions of the banknotes based on an ex parte application filed by 3 northern state governments has continued to generate mixed reactions from the residents of Nasarawa State. Abubakar Abdullahi, who spoke to some residents, sent in this report as presented from our studio.
The Central Bank of Nigeria had fixed 31st of January this year as the deadline to stop the collection of the old Naira notes, following the redesigning of the 1,000, 500 and 200 Naira notes. The hardship that followed efforts to swap the old notes with new ones attracted criticism from Nigerians who asked for an extension of the deadline. Despite a 10-day extension, the situation seemed to have worsened as Nigerians could not lay hands on any of the new notes. This prompted the governments of Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara states to seek an injunction restraining the CBN from stopping the collection of the old notes on the 10th of February. The ruling by the Apex Court in favor of the 3 states is getting different reactions from the residents of Nasarawa State.
If they can rule the case to collect the old money, we the rural will be very happy now over it. Than saying they should stop it at the day they schedule, which is after the 10 days. They say they will add 7 days. But to us, at least they should rule the case in order to forward collecting the old money.
While some are welcoming a possible extension that is expected to ensure enough cash in circulation, Daniel Abel sees no reason for another extension, as according to him, the benefits of sticking to the deadline are more than what Nigerians may expect from another extension.
For me, anything that has to do with this change of, the old currency and the time limit and whatever, we have seen other countries like, India. They had their change of currency not quite long, and we saw the reactions. But in the end of the day, the Indians are benefiting heavily from that change of currency. I want to believe, no matter what politicians are saying about this change of currency, I strongly believe the purpose, the objective is good, and actually nobody's condemning it.
Whatever decisions the authorities are planning to take on the Naira note swap, moving forward, all Nigerians are asking is for the cash, be it old or new, to be available to them.
Dozens of Nigerians on Wednesday protested against the order of the Supreme Court restraining the Apex Bank from enforcing February 10 deadline. The protesters, who gathered in front of the headquarters of Central Bank of Nigeria, said only vote buyers are trying to compel the courts to do their bidding. They were armed with placards with various inscriptions such as "The only opponents of new Naira policy are vote buyers and bandits," President Buhari, "Those against new currency policy plotting to cancel 2023 elections, don't let them succeed," among other inscriptions. In the same vein, presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has hailed state governors for standing on the side of the Nigerian people over the central bank new Naira policy that has subjected the masses to pains. In his reaction, Tinubu, in a statement by the Director, Media and Publicity, APC Presidential Campaign Council, Bayo Onanuga, said the governors, and especially the APC governors who instituted the suit against the CBN and federal government at the Supreme Court, acted well on behalf of the hapless Nigerians who have been made to bear the brunt of Naira redesign policy that has been poorly implemented. Tinubu said the governors have saved the country from needless political and economic crisis and miseries, which have clearly become the unintended consequences of the monetary policy of the Apex Bank. Similarly, the International Monetary Fund has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria to consider extending the February 10 deadline for the swapping of old Naira notes. The fund, in a statement on Wednesday, cited disruptions in trade and payments resulting from the exercise. The statement, signed by Laraba Bonnet on behalf of the fund's representative to Nigeria, Ari Eisen, said in spite of measures introduced by the CBN to mitigate the challenges in the banknote swap process, the IMF encourages the CBN to consider extending the deadline should problems persist in the days leading up to the February 10, 2023 deadline. The statement came as the Supreme Court on Wednesday restrains the CBN from going ahead with the February 10 deadline. The court gave the order in a ruling on a case brought before it by 3 state governments. The Independent National Electoral Commission has given assurances that the 2023 general elections will hold as scheduled. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, gave the guarantee on Wednesday after briefing the Federal Executive Council at State House, Abuja. Kende Amodu reports.
The INEC chairman is briefing the cabinet as part of routine updates on its preparedness to conduct the elections. There are 2 key challenges before the electoral umpire. The first being the availability of petroleum products during the period leading up to, during, and after the polls.
We had a meeting with the National Union of Road Transport Workers, and they raised that as an issue of concern. Immediately after that meeting, we interfaced with the leadership of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. And right now, there's a technical committee working. The idea is for them to avail us the use of their over 900 land mega stations as well as floating mega stations nationwide for the purpose of stocking products to ensure that the Commission doesn't suffer any encumbrances in movement of personnel and materials for the election.
The second is the currency redesign policy and its effect on the availability of funds.
We had an engagement yesterday with the governor of the central bank, and he assured us that the Commission will not suffer any encumbrances on that score. Fortunately for us, all our accounts, national and state, are held by the Apex Bank. So we raised those challenges, but we have found a solution to those challenges. So be rest assured that the election will hold as scheduled on the 25th of February for national and on the 11th of March for the state election.
The INEC chairman is confident that these obstacles would be neutralized before the elections, but has no doubt about the Commission's capacity to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
The newly elected president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero, and other executive members of the Congress have been sworn in. They were sworn in at the ongoing 13th NLC National Delegates Conference by the human rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. Ajaero said the Congress will, during his tenure, wake up and fight all anti-masses policies with full force. He also warned politicians to play their games according to the rule, saying they will not hesitate to take necessary action if any politician tries to manipulate workers. The Labour leader also warned the INEC to make itself neutral during next elections to avoid facing the wrath of Nigerian workers. Director General of the National Identity Management Commission, Aliyu Abubakar Aziz, has advised Nigerians to regard the National Identification Number, NIN, as a most crucial feature of the entire life, as it is the unique identity for all citizens in Nigeria. Aziz said the constant debates among Nigerians over issuance of the national identity cards after successful registration is not necessary, as acquiring the number is more important, calling on Nigerians to view the NIN the same way Social Security numbers or national insurance numbers is regarded in developed countries.
In the US, UK and everywhere else, when you are asked, you give your social security number. You don't need to print a special card for it. But we, because we have been a developing world, so we are used to that they print card to give you the card. Well, the importance is, first of all, foundational identity, that for the government to provide any service to you, for you to obtain any of the other functional services, you need to identify who you are, and that is the importance of that. And when the government knows about you, then government will be able to provide services to you, will be able to protect you, and also provide whatever social safety and the rest of it.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, how poverty is increasing divorce cases. Do stay.
Nigeria now we country, APC not the party, now one man be a choice.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Hello, Abuja residents. Did you know that the FCT administration, in collaboration with security agencies, has put adequate measures in place for round-the-clock surveillance around the territory to safeguard the lives and property of all residents? Yes, FCTA has also taken steps to checkmate the activities of criminals in and around the territory. Security agencies have adopted proactive measures to fish out criminals and other individuals plotting to truncate the peace and tranquility of the FCT. Did you know also that you can support these efforts by giving accurate and timely information to the security agencies that will assist in nipping any form of criminality in the bud. Yes, part of your support to keep the FCT safe and secure is to stop sharing social media posts, videos, or comments that are either totally fake news or have the potential to misinform and mislead the public and therefore have negative implication on the security and well-being of the FCT and the residents. Remember, security is everybody's business. Be security conscious. Play your own part by helping to keep the FCT safe. This message is from the Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Ba a iya sutura da abinci jin daɗin duniyar mu ya ƙare. Za ka iya more rayuwarka da kayan alfarma na kamfanin Vento Furniture kamar su Ladi Corner Sets, Escape Sofa Sets, Acadia Sofa, Piano Sofa Sets, Sofa Corner Sets, Vento Sofa Sets. Sannan kuma za ku iya saka ƙayatattun gadaje na alfarma a ɗakunan kamar su Gold Cream Bedroom Sets ko kuma ku wadata falon ku da kujeru na alfarma irin su Sare Royal Set da Acadia Dining Sets. Ofishoshinku kuwa za ku iya saka manyan kujeru na kece raini domin walwala da jin daɗin ku da abokan hulɗa. Kamfanin Vento Furniture ya tanadar muku gadajen bacci na yara masu inganci, kayan ɗaki irin na angwaye da amare har ma da sarakuna. Muna da shagunan mu a gurare kamar haka: 79 Allen Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos; 7A Azikiwe Road, Port Harcourt; 25 Glover Road, Ikoyi, Lagos; Shop U1 Jabi Lake Mall, Abuja; da kuma 4330 Walker Road, Windsor, Ontario ga mazauna ƙasar Canada. Vento Furniture mun zagaye ko ina.
That's good. That's good to see you.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our major stories. You heard that Supreme Court stopped CBN from implementing February 10 deadline for old Naira notes. You also heard that INEC chairman briefs FEC, says 2023 general elections will hold as scheduled. Moving to politics, the People's Democratic Party in Osun says it has confidence in the integrity and capacity of the Nigerian judiciary to right every wrong and ensure justice is served its sacked governor. The PDP made this known on Wednesday in a statement by the PDP caretaker chairman in the state, Adekunle Akindele, was referring to the recent judgment by the Election Petition Tribunal in the state. The tribunal had in the judgment nullified the election of Ademola Adeleke as Osun governor and declared the immediate past governor, Boyega Oyetola of the All Progressives Congress, as the validly elected governor. The PDP said it only had issues with the partisan review of evidence before the tribunal and abandonment of incontrovertible facts from the Beavers machines. In a judgment, chairman of the three-man panel, Justice Tetia Kume, said the July 16, 2022 governorship election was not conducted in compliance with the Electoral Act. The Independent National Electoral Commission has appealed against the judgment of Justice T.A. Kume-led Election Petitions Tribunal in Osun State on 44 grounds. INEC filed the petition at the Court of Appeal in Akure through its lawyer Paul Ananaba, SAN, on Wednesday. The electoral body said the Election Petitions Tribunal erred in law by failing to consider and rule on various preliminary objections filed by the first respondent, challenging the competency of the petition and jurisdiction of the Election Petition Tribunal to hear the petition. The petitioners, Oyetola and APC, who faulted the declaration of Adeleke as the winner of the July 16th governorship election in the state, premised their petition on Adeleke's eligibility to contest and overvoting. The tribunal on 27th January 2023 declared Oyetola as the validly elected governor of the state after deducting the disputed votes challenged by the petitioners. While INEC in its appeal said the tribunal totally misconstrued Section 47, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, which must be read to arrive at the true intention of the legislature and justice. INEC sought an order of the appeal court to set aside the whole decision of the trial tribunal and dismissed and/or strike out the petition for want of competence and jurisdiction. Barely 3 weeks to the 2023 general elections, there are growing concerns that potential voters may or may not have a proper grasp of the manifestos of candidates and other electoral processes to enable them make informed decisions on who to vote. In this report, Trust TV speaks to Gombe residents on their knowledge of candidates' manifestos ahead of the elections. The report.
It is less than 3 weeks to the presidential and National Assembly elections across the country, billed to hold on the 25th of February, a day millions of Nigerians will vote to choose leaders that will steer the affairs of the country in the next 4 years. But there are growing concerns about whether or not potential voters have a clear understanding of the manifestos of candidates of political parties to influence their voting decision. We speak to some Nigerians on how they assess candidates whom they may vote for in the upcoming election. Some people are voting blindly without background check of the candidates. Some, because they want to promote their party, they can just go ahead and vote an incompetent leader without considering the consequences. I focus on the one who knows the problem of the people currently and who will be able to deliver his campaign promises.
Kuma zai iya tabbatar mana kuma da alkawari kuma akan abunda za mu yi zabe a kansa.
I am assessing the candidates to see whether they have contributed to the development of the people, even if they have held public office or not. To also confirm if he has done anything to develop Gombe State. If he does, I will like him. In a recent interview with Trust TV, a political scientist from the Federal University of Kashere, Babayo Sule, spoke on what the electorate should consider before voting a candidate.
What else are you looking for? A public representative in an office, if not performance. You want him to improve your life. What if it is an incumbent? What has he made on ground? What is he able to achieve? What is the gap he is able to close? Analyze that. If he's a contender that has not been able to win or secure any public office, go through his record. Which office has he held? Is it private? Is it business? What has he done with that? How many people is he able to support, sponsor? How many projects is he able to drag or do within his constituent? Look at that. So this is one. Number two, credibility and integrity. Credibility and integrity speaks volume of a candidate. What is his potential of fulfilling promise, of being sympathetic with the public? So people need to look into all this.
As it stands, the hope of all Nigerians is to have credible leaders that will resolve the multiple challenges bedeviling the country. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting. for Trust TV.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for that report. Now, still on electoral matters, the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa, has assured that the commission is ready to deliver a free, fair, and credible election that is devoid of rancor and acrimony. The Adamawa INEC Commissioner, who made the call during an exclusive interview with Trust TV in Yola, called on residents of the state to come out and vote leaders of the choice on election days with the assurance that their votes will count. Silas Lawang has more.
The Commission said it has received a total of 215,280 permanent voter cards. Other than that, out of that number, 185,248 have been collected, while 30,032 remain uncollected from the fresh exercise of 2021-2022. For transfers or change of polling unit, Hudu Yunusa said they received from the headquarters a total of 467,250, while 302,260 are collected.
Adamawa State had fared very well. It did very well in terms of the collection of PVCs, which is very fundamental. Because it's the basis of the 2023 general elections. Without the PVC, you cannot vote. So the collection of PVCs is very encouraging. Also, it ended on Sunday, the 4th of February. From that, we no longer issue any other PVC. And if you look at the percentage of uncollected out of the total number is 29%.
Out of 100?
Yes, out of 100. And for the collected, we have 71%. So it's
actually a great.
We have fared very well.
Based on this development, the Resident Electoral Commissioner said Adamawa State has recorded tremendous success in the PVC's collection exercise compared to other states of the Northeast. He also speaks on the recently concluded mock accreditation exercise.
We expect them at the same time to come and cast their votes. So that will be applied for the commission, for people coming and must to cast their civil responsibilities. That's going to be great. And we'll enjoin them to not only to collect the after collection, let them turn out en masse and vote.
On security, the Commission said it has partnered all relevant security agencies to ensure success during the elections. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
Now moving on to security, gunmen have shot dead the chief imam of Nomadic Central Mosque at Rugang Ardo, Isiaka Adamu, and a son of a Fulani chief, and abducted 14 others in Kagarko local government area of Kaduna State. A resident, Shehu Ibrahim, who confirmed the killings and abduction through telephone to our reporter on Tuesday, said the bandits invaded Janjala community and whisked away 8 people before proceeding to Rugang Ardo, a few kilometers away, and abducted 6 people after killing one of the sons of the Ardo, Alhaji Husseini Ardo. He said 8 among 11 people that were abducted in December 2022 in Janjala were still in captivity, as 3 of them were freed last week. There was no response from the Kaduna State Police Command on the latest incident as at time of filing this report. Police in Katsina say 3 suspected armed robbers have been arrested, including the ringleader Muhammad Abdurrahman, also known as Lalo, who has been on the police wanted list. Abdullahi Yamadi reports that the police allege that the suspect specialized in breaking into houses, car snatching in Katsina metropolis. The report.
Parading the suspects, the command spokesman SP Gambo Isa said the suspected armed robbers and car snatching syndicate confessed to have belonged to various gangs. The command listed some exhibits recovered from the suspects.
Between September to December 2022, they attacked more than 9 houses within the metropolitan area, committed armed robbery therein, which led to the snatching of motor vehicles and robbery of other valuables, including cash amounting to 3,983 naira.
Similarly, the police operatives said they have arrested 2 suspected informants to notorious bandits, armed robbers, and cattle rustlers in Katsina State. The suspects, armed with AK-47 rifles, invited their accomplices to attack the residence of one Ashuru Rahmawa in Katsina, where they rustled 23 cows valued at about 5 million naira.
They left Basari and they are residing at Rahmawa quarters. And one of them stated in his confessions that actually he knows a gang of terrorists and he invited them to Rahmawa here in Katsina.
In the same vein, the police have in their custody a suspected receiver of stolen property from armed robbers who attacked the residence of one Fahad Abba and robbed him of his vehicle. After the operation, the suspects communicated with a notorious suspected armed robber, Muhammad Ibrahim alias Abba Kala, who is now in custody at the correctional center in Katsina, where he explained how and where the stolen vehicle will be disposed of.
The
masterminds are in correctional centers, but we missed everything when we were accosted by the police on our way to the place where we will dispose the vehicle. In view of the foregoing, we want the police to temper justice with mercy in dealing with this issue. The police efforts did not stop at that, because some suspected fraudster and social miscreants are also being investigated with a view to arraigning them before the court of law. However, the operatives said their efforts will be in vain if parents and other stakeholders are unmindful of their responsibilities of ensuring a better tomorrow for the younger generations. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
The United Nations Children's Fund says at least 1.9 million children, including youths affected by insurgency, lack access to basic education across the Northeast. UNICEF disclosed this during a media dialogue with education correspondents on its achievements in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states. The body, however, said with partnership and collaborations with organizations and the federal government, over 18,000 teachers were trained to ensure quality education in the 3 states. It said more interventions are needed to address learning crisis and challenges of out-of-school and displaced children.
Only 47% of schools in Borno have furniture, with lower proportions in Yobe and Adamawa states. Only 30% of schools in Adamawa have learning supplies for children, with lower proportions again in Borno and Yobe. It is therefore little wonder that according to the multiple indicator cluster surveys in 2021, that less than half of the children complete their primary school in northeastern Nigeria. About 1.9 million boys and girls and youth affected by the conflict are without access to basic quality education in the region. This is the first training of its kind to have this many teachers being trained. It's a start. Is it enough? I'm not so sure. And in fact, I would blatantly say, no, it's not enough, but it is a fantastic start. And it is something that the government of Nigeria is aware of.
The rise in cases of divorce among married couples has been blamed on poverty. Those who spoke to Jimmy Adzande in Makurdi said most marriages no longer enjoy the dignity of the institution due to the inability of spouses to meet their financial obligations. The report.
Across the city of Makurdi, residents agreed that there are rising cases of divorce caused by a plethora of reasons, but one that stood out among many respondents is poverty.
The women are not patient enough to say, okay, this is a situation we find ourselves in. He cannot feed, but let me see how I can manage. Do some little things, maybe do some little treats to help feed my children. No, all she wanted that he must go out there and get something. And where is he getting it from? Today we find ourselves in a society that even the ones that are educated, they are earning salary. Is the salary enough to take care of their families? This is issue of feeding. The health matter is there. Education is there, which is key for our children.
Others are of the opinion that there is a break in social norms. They share the view that many couples are impatient and ignorant of the social contract in marriage.
Divorce is a problem we are facing in our society today. And I think some of the reasons that are responsible for divorce in our society today are the childlessness in marriage, indiscipline, and sometimes because of hardship, and sometimes because of the upbringing of the people involved in marriage.
Those who attribute rising cases of divorce to sexual and gender-based violence believe that it is better to divorce than resort to violent acts that could lead to serious injuries or even death.
Gender-based violence is not gender-specific. It can be the woman suffering abuse, it can be the man suffering abuse. And we need to understand that divorce is not, we should learn to understand that divorce is not a bad thing. Society needs to understand that it's better to live while you can than live as a dead person. You cannot, most people remain, okay, what would society say? That is the issue that has caused most cases of death in marriages as a result of domestic violence.
To reduce the rise in divorce, stakeholders call on partners to embrace tolerance and peace.
For all parties involved in marriage to learn to forgive one another, should learn to tolerate and bear with one another. If living with somebody that comes from a different background, somebody who comes from a different training, coming to live together, one needs to be patient to be able to work with such a person.
Checks around Makurdi revealed that there has been a growing number of single mothers occasioned by divorce among the youth population, a situation many are hopeful will be halted with the right information and orientation about marriage.
The need to allow female Muslim students and workers wear the hijab to their places of work in schools has again been brought to the fore. The issue was raised during the commemoration of the 2023 World Hijab Day in Benin City. Nafisa Bello has details.
Gathered at the museum ground, Ring Road, Benin City, are 5 Muslim organizations in Edo State, namely the Federation of Muslim Women's Association in Nigeria, FOMWEL, Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, MSSN, Al-Muminat, National Council of Muslim Youth Organizations, NACOMYO, and Nasrullah Fatih Society of Nigeria, NASFAT, who came together to mark the 2023 World Hijab Day in grand style.
Quran instructs Muslim women and men to dress modestly, concerns both male and female. The hijab is the manifestation of modesty or in dressing.
Welcome you all to this gracious event, World Hijab Day, which theme is hijab, progression, not oppression.
Hijab is more like our identity. Wherever we are, the hijab is what makes us stand out.
Allah will surely provide for us. We will continue till the end of time to keep promoting that hijab is our identity.
Describing the hijab as a form of liberation, the resource person, Hajia Umeima Momo, dwelt on the theme of the day, which was progression, not retrogression, with a promise to continue to fight the good cause.
Progression, not oppression. For our young daughters, are you with me? I'd like you to know that the fact that we are here seated using the hijab is actually progression. And like one of the speakers said, what is progression? Moving forward, advancement, development. Anybody who sees you using the hijab and thinks that you are retrogressive is the retrogressive one.
Highlight of the event was the presentation of certificate and a letter of appreciation to Form 1 Edo State Chapter by Amanatullah Legacy Foundation for their contribution towards the successful commissioning of Iraq Central Mosque in Esan Central Local Government area of the state. Students from invited schools spoke on the takeaways from the event.
I also learned that the hijab is a commandment of Allah. It is contained in the Quran and Hadith. That hijab is not a patriarchal attire forced down on women by men who want to control and oppress them, but rather it is a symbol of faith, modesty and dignity.
World Hijab Day, observed annually on the 1st of February, is to create more awareness on Muslim women's discrimination and reaffirm the hijab as a fundamental right. Nafisa Bello, Trust TV News, Benin.
You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. More stories shortly.
Security has to be an area they must work on.
We are going to have our own country called Biafra.
You are afraid to come out and move about, lest one hoodlum or the other will harm you.
People who have guns and the rest of them could be attacked. How about we, the helpless citizens?
Olo office was attacked. The Isu office was attacked.
I haven't even seen where people are going to collect their PVC for voting.
The IPOB people, they're not criminals, but they're just crying out for justice and help.
We would deploy reasonably and strategically to make sure that we decimate the activities of these bad elements who are causing problems in the land.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The International Monetary Fund on Wednesday listed Nigeria among countries with the lowest level of food security. The organization disclosed this in its just concluded Article 4 consultation with Nigerian authorities. It further stressed the need to improve the performance of the agricultural sector for job creation and food security. The International Monetary Fund has urged the federal government to deliver on its commitment to remove fuel subsidy by mid-2023. The IMF said the government needed to make bold fiscal reforms to create the needed policy space, secure public debt, and reduce vulnerabilities. The Washington-based lender stated this on Wednesday in a report titled IMF Executive Board Concludes 2022 Article 4 Consultation with Nigeria, published on its website. It explained that despite rising oil prices, the nation's fiscal deficit was estimated to have widened further in 2022, mainly due to high fuel subsidy costs. It added that while the current account might have improved in 2022, foreign currency reserves declined because of capital outflow pressures. And finally, in stocks, the Nigerian equity market on Wednesday bounced back from the loss of 0.13% recorded in Tuesday's sessions, buoyed by gains in Dangote Cement and other 10 stocks in green table led by Triple G. The all-share index rose by 0.23% to stand at 54,427.05 points. Market capitalization closed at 29.645 trillion naira, growing by 69 billion naira. The market broke close negative as 11 stocks gained against 23 stocks that declined in their share prices. Aggregate volume closed at 151.6 million units, valued at 1.8 billion naira in 2,974 deals. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
On the international scene, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has visited southeastern Turkey to inspect the areas badly affected by the magnitudes of 7.7 and 7.6 earthquakes that hit the country earlier this week. Wednesday's visit takes place the day after President Erdogan declared a 3-month-long state of emergency in the 10 provinces hit by the quake. The Turkish president has tasked all of his ministers in his cabinet and Vice President Fuat Oktay to handle the situation and establish coordination in the area. In the first leg of his visit, Erdogan visited a football stadium in 12 district, Kahramanmaraş, where a tent city was set up for the victims before heading to the Pazarcık district, the epicenter of one of the 2 major earthquakes that struck on Monday. Powerful earthquakes and aftershocks have killed over 11,000 people and wounded 49,133, while more than 8,000 were rescued, according to official figures released on Wednesday afternoon. Still on the foreign scene, United States President Joe Biden has delivered his State of the Union speech at a pivotal moment for his presidency. His speech attracted rebuttal from Republican members of the Congress represented by Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It came as Biden is poised to launch a re-election campaign and is dealing with Republicans controlling one chamber of Congress for the first time. Russia's invasion of Ukraine also received scant attention, just as the president made no mention whatsoever of the recent earthquake in Syria and Turkey and the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding. Instead, the president's focus was dominated by domestic concerns.
Actually agree with that. President Biden indeed spent a chunk of his time yesterday talking about what he's been able to achieve on the economic front. He mentioned that a record 12 million jobs have been created by employers since he became president over the last 2 years, something he says none of the presidents in the history of the country have been able to do within their first term, which is usually a 4-year period. Not only that, he also mentioned 800,000 manufacturing jobs and more to come, including how him and his administration has been able to get Americans back and going following the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic that literally led to a shutdown of schools and businesses and people having to lose their jobs. So essentially, he didn't mention that he was going to run during the address, but it was certain from the tone and the issues he talked about, especially when he says, let's get the job finished, given a clear indication where his mind or his direction would be as far as the what people are expecting to be an announcement that he'll be making shortly about a potential 2024 rerun. For the second time, President Joe Biden did bring, in the House, the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States to again reiterate the continuous support of the country towards Ukraine. Just almost a year. Today is February the 8th. In a couple of weeks' time will be exactly 1 year since Russia invaded Europe. And the president said that the US will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. It is rhetoric that he's been espousing since, the war began.
Let's now join Adenia Jishafe for the sports news.
Argentina, Chile, Paraguay and Uruguay on Tuesday officially submitted a joint bid to host the 2030 World Cup, calling for the tournament to return where football was born 100 years after the first World Cup was held in Montevideo. At the ceremony at the Argentine Football Association AFA, officials of the 4 countries were joined by Alejandro Dominguez, president of the South American Football Confederation, CONMEBOL, who said the host FIFA can show a gesture of greatness towards the region and allow it to organize the tournament. Argentina's president Alberto Fernandez released a statement on his official Twitter account saying Bolivia will be asked to join the dream. After the first edition in Uruguay, Argentina hosted the World Cup in 1978 and Chile in 1962, while Paraguay has never hosted the sport's biggest competition. South America bid will compete with Spain, Portugal, who have signed a joint bid agreement, plus possible 2030 bid from Morocco and Saudi Arabia. And in basketball, LeBron James has become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's 39-year-old record. The Los Angeles Lakers star hit 38 points in a 133-130 defeat by Oklahoma City Thunder to surpass Abdul-Jabbar's mark of 38,387. Abdul-Jabbar initially broke the scoring record in April 1984, 8 months before James was born. James needed 36 points to break the record and did so with a fadeaway jumper at the end of the third quarter, and finished the match with a career total of 38,390. Four-time NBA champion, James is in his 20th season in the NBA, having been drafted first overall by hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, in 2003. The forward joined Miami Heat in 2010, winning 2 titles before returning to lead Cleveland to the only NBA title in their history in 2016. LeBron has been with the Lakers since 2018 and helped them win the 2020 title, which was also the 4th time he has been named NBA Finals MVP. That's Sport News. I am Adeniyi Ajishafe.
Thank you, Adeniyi, for Sports News. And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.